Jerry can carry for time 100 pounds in each hand, and your time in this race will be your tie-break time as Ricky Garrard goes barreling over the finish line. But in the event that 2 or more athletes are eliminated on the same barbell, that's the time that will be used to break that tie. 495 pounds on the barbell. As Garrett Clark, Tudor Magda, and Dallin Pepper will lead off. Garrett Clark making his first career appearance here at the Rogue Invitational, qualified through the Q. He's 19th place overall, but this is more of a learning experience for him right now as Magda and Pepper are good. And it is good for Garrett Clark.
Garrett Clark is very patient in his setup. He's very methodical there. You can tell he's built a technique of this pattern that he likes to create before he's successful or taking a successful attempt. I think it's really going to pay off for him as we watch the weight continue to go up. A lot like we saw from Paige Semenza on the women's side just a while ago. She was very consistent, methodical in her setup, took some time, but all her deadlift reps were very much the same all the way through until she failed.
Lazar Jukic and Jason Hopper get their lifts to go, and Bailey Martin stays alive. Still 18 men alive in this event as we move to Will Morad, Yella Hosta, Travis Mayer, and Ricky Garrard. There is Yella Hosta, 10th place right now. We got 3 finishes inside the top 10, a 2nd, a 7th, and a 5th, but also 2 on the wrong side of the top 10, a 14th and a 19th.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I think this lift could present some problems for Yella.
Travis Mayer's good. Morad. Hosta hitches that up. Gerard, once again, be the last man to lift. That is good for Ricky.
Everybody survives.
Moving into the second to last round now. Jay Crouch, that man Chandler Smith, Brent Fikowski, and Roman Krenikov.
Now Chandler Smith is not known for being a technician, Sean.
He doesn't even wait, just picks the thing up. And everyone else, as Fikowski's working through 495, is good. There's no setup, there's no nothing. Just walk up, pick it up, walk away.
That's right. Walk up, pick it up, walk away. And that was one thing I was going to mention, though. He's not known to be a technician, but I mean, he's amazingly strong. And when he addresses the bar, the one thing that he's got to be careful of is not getting carried away with rushing that style of attempt. I know he wants to speed off the bar. In fact, that's one of our points of performance. It's a key to success on this. But he's got to make sure the bar doesn't get away from him. As this weight gets heavier, he can miss prior to really meeting his full potential.
Norman Carl Gudmundsson, Noah Olson, Jeff Adler, and Pat Vellinger, they all get through 495, and now we get to our last 20-pound jump as we will move up to 515 pounds and into round 4. 18 men still alive here. Let's take a look back at that last round, starting with Ricky Garrard.
Ricky Garrard, a little bit more of a squatty setup, which means his butt is a little lower than a lot of the other competitors here. That's what works for his body posture and position. Does a great job executing there. Vellner, more of a narrow stance, more of a hinge position. He's got longer arms. It's going to allow him to utilize that leverage that he's created with those long arms to stand up the weight. And then BKG, right between the two of them, a little bit more of a moderated or medium setup. He stands and drives through his quads, and he's able to have success there at the top. BKG's going to have to watch that left side where his hand is supinated or turned under, the side where we see his palm. He's going to have to make sure that that reaches full extension as the load continues to get heavy. That rep was really close.
515 pounds, still 18 men alive in this competition. Victor Hoffer, the only man who's been eliminated so far, And there is Brent Fikowski, who comes into this event in second place overall. He's 40 points back of Pat Vellner. Hey, whatever it takes.
Hey, listen, Brent Fikowski just giving himself a little smack in the face right as the camera cuts away. That's what we're here for. And hey, people have done crazier things, Sean, to get psyched up for a deadlift.
Jacksonville Jaguars had a defensive lineman by the name of John Henderson, who used to have a team assistant slap him in the face before a game.
I've seen highlights of this. I've seen this on some behind-the-scenes cut, and it's almost scary. Why would you want to be that man that slaps such a large human? What if you made him upset?
He would hit him, and sometimes Henderson would get mad that he didn't hit him hard enough. And now we move to 5:15. Tudor Magda, Dallin Pepper, and Garrett Clark to kick this off. And Clark once again taking his time.
Yep, taking his time, patient, but then watch. Speed and violence off the
floor. That is good for him. The opposite approach of Chandler Smith.
That's right. One I'll say, too, I reached out to Tudor and talked with him a little bit before the competition. Him notoriously being one of the stronger athletes in our sport. I asked him what he thought about the deadlift, and he said, you know, hey, honestly, my lifetime PR is 525, but it's been about 3 years since I've hit a 1 max deadlift. So I think that we're going to see some much heavier weight from Tudor Magda tonight than 525 as he makes 515 look very light.
Jason Hopper is through 515. Lazar Jukic will hitch that up, gets it to go. Now Bailey Martin.
Yeah, we see a wide array of setups, hand width, and foot position width. Some athletes really excel at putting their base very narrow, feet close together. Some are a bit more closer to hip width, and some are just right there under the shoulders.
Will Morad, Yella Hosta, Travis Mayer, and Ricky Garrard. Travis Mayer continues to look good here. Morad is through. Hosta is good, and Garrard will stay alive. 2 rounds remain.
Yeah, I expect a pretty big number from Travis, especially if he's feeling good today. He's one of those athletes, when we test lifts, like a power clean, like a power snatch, where his numbers are pretty high, and this tends to have a strong carryover into the deadlift as I'm trying to hold it together.
I mean, Brent Fikowski, the only man with his face chalked up here.
Well, he knows he's got to actually go after this 515, though, Sean. That last lift really went slow for him.
I mean, and Smith doesn't waste any time. He's good. Kredikov's good. Fikowski fighting this thing, and he's going to get it.
He's got it. Great fight by Brent there.
Chandler Smith is lifting that thing like he's angry at it.
And that's the right approach. It's when you have a simple strength movement, when we talk about something like the strict press, the deadlift, the back squat, the 3 primary movements in something called the total. They're simple. You can attack them with the ferocity and an intensity that doesn't involve as much skill, as long as that violence that you use is controlled.
Gudmundsson, Adler, Olsen, and Vellner. Gudmundsson's going to fail that rep, and he will be out. Now down to 17 men. Gudmundsson came in 3rd place overall. He's only 5 points up on Adler for that final spot on the podium.
Yeah, this one's going to hurt him for sure. And Noah was in a similar situation, but he was able to drive and grind through that.
As these weights get heavier, you got to do whatever it takes to get yourself psyched up. Brent Fikowski.
Double. He doubled up on that one. And it worked. It paid off for him. The weight moved a little slow off the ground, right? He gets through. He breaks the static position of the bar. Finishes the lift. Chandler, the exact opposite approach, however. Grips and rips that bar directly off the ground. Still great execution, though. Hips and shoulders rise together till the bar passes the knees, and then he extends the hips forward. Chandler's got a tremendous physique for a great deadlift. Longer femurs, longer arms, that creates a great relationship between his shoulder angle and that barbell, allowing him to use maximized leverage. It's a very similar setup to what we saw from Alex Gazan.
We move to the 5th barbell, and now we will just be making 10-pound jumps. We go from 515 to 525 pounds. We have 17 men left in the field as Victor Hoffer and Bjorgvin Carl Gudmundsson have both been eliminated. And there is Noah Olsen, who comes into this event in 5th place overall with 320 points. He's only 25 points back of Gudmundsson for 3rd.
Yeah, he made quite the jump.
Clark, Magda, and Pepper will be up first at 525 pounds.
Now, Dallin Pepper is one of the stronger athletes in the field, too, particularly for his age. He and Tudor being some of the younger athletes out there, Garrett Clark included. But the bar was starting to slow down a little bit for Dallin on that last deadlift.
Dallin will get through that, no problem with Tudor Magda.
That was a good lift by Dallin. He had to fight, but he was able to execute.
Here's Garrett Clark at 525, and that is good. Bailey Martin, Lazar Jukic in the middle of your screen, and Jason Hopper will be up next.
Lazar's really got to fight through that sticking point around the mid-thigh to extend his hips forward to get his shoulders back behind the bar. This is where the sticking point lies for him.
Hopper will get 525. Jukic hitching that up, and he'll make it. And now Bailey Martin.
We talked about the difference in stances. Bailey Martin's heels almost touching each other in his setup. Very narrow position. And this is advantageous. I personally came up through the space and continue to deadlift with a relatively narrow deadlift stance as well. Power travels in a straight line. A lot of athletes like to put their feet where they sprint from or where they jump from, and a lot of times it's a more narrow stance.
Will Morad, Yella Hosta, Travis Mayer, and Ricky Garrard up next. Keep an eye on Ricky Garrard in the bottom right-hand part of your screen. He's usually the last man to go in this foursome. Now Morad's going to bow out. Hosta is through.
Great lift for Hosta. I think he was pumped to make that.
And here's Garrard. He's good at 525.
Good lift for Ricky there. It's starting to tax him a little bit more. You can start to see slight rounding in his upper back. And when we see that start to happen, what we know is that with our focus and point number 2, our key to success is staying tight. As athletes start to break and round there, this really minimizes the way that they're able to express power through the floor and through the barbell. They're pressing, but the barbell's not traveling. Instead, they're giving into gravity.
Chandler Smith just makes quick work of 525. Jake Crouch is good, Krennikov is good, and Frykowski taking his time here. 525 for Frykowski. And can't get it to budge. But Brent Frykowski also bowing out. So 2 of the top 3 men in the overall standings have been eliminated.
You know, and I can tell Brent is not happy about that. You can see as he bends over or stands from a deadlift attempt, he's a little ginger with standing up. I wonder if his back's feeling it from all the other work that these athletes have accumulated over the last 2 days.
Vellner, Adler, and Olsen at 525. Adler and Vellner are good. Noah Olsen will get it.
Great lift there for Noah. That last barbell at 515 presented a challenge for him. So for him to be able to grind out 525, that was very impressive. Great fight.
Frykowski and Gudmundsson both being eliminated in that round. The closest man to Pat Vellner is Jeff Adler. And Vellner had a 60-point lead over Adler. He has an 80-point lead over Noah Olsen. A huge opportunity here for Pat Vellner to add even more points to his lead.
Adler making 525, look very light, great posture, great setup. Vellner 525, same deal, very confident still. Great speed with the bar, past the knee, bar stays close to his body. Noah double overhand hook grip, a little bit of a wider setup, which he's known for even in his snatch and his clean and jerk. Slow off the floor and a stinking grind past the knee, but he's able to extend his torso and finish that lift. Great lift there by Noah Olsen.
Two thumbs up for Noah Olsen. 525 goes up for him. We talked about Chandler Smith and just how fast he is. And let's take a look at his first 4 lifts, back to back to back. Here's 475, no problem. Here's 495,
Yep.
about the same. 515, and now 525.
I bet if we put a clock to it, Sean, it's about the same amount of time for every lift. Only thing that's different, he might have a little bit more focus or a little bit more tenacity in his face. But other than that, the output is the same into that barbell.
Now we move to 535 pounds, back to the top of the order. Garrett Clark, Tudor Magda, and Dallin Pepper. Dallin Pepper asking for a little help from the crowd.
Yeah, he's got to
belts up.
Dallin's got to ante up here.
Magda's good. Pepper has it. And Garrett Clark. And that will bring us to Bailey Martin, Lazar Jukic, and Jason Hopper. Getting himself a step up to the barbell. 9th place overall, coming off an event win in duel. He is able to pull 535. Jukic is good. And Bailey Martin gets through 535.
Impressive. Hopper's sticking point for him is going to be off the floor. If Hopper can get it past his knee, it looks like he's going to be successful. The other two, Jukic and Martin, are going to have some trouble as the bar passes their knees. So again, athletes navigating different sticking points. It's very common. Some of it is in the hip extension at the top, and some of it is the posterior engagement at the very bottom.
Yellow Hosta, Travis Mayer, and Ricky Garrard. No problem with Travis Mayer. Yellow Hosta. Great count.
Great lift for Yellow.
Comes to Ricky Garrard. Losing his balance, trying to fight through it, and he has it.
I can tell he'll be very grateful for that lift. That was a fight there. Almost lost it in his heels, and that's what we start to see. We almost saw Lazar lose a lift the same way. Athletes that battle that hitch either tend to come to their toes and the weight then pulls them forward, or they go so far back in their heels.
Chandler Smith, no big deal. 535 is good. Crouch is good, and Krennikov makes it through.
Easy for Roman, easy for Chandler.
Chandler heading into the dugout for a second. Swing a couple bats in the on-deck circle just to stay warm. Now Adler, Olsen, and Velmer, the final 3 at 535 pounds. Velmer is good. Adler is good. See if Olsen can get through here. Noah Olsen unable to get 535, but keeping a smile on his face. Olsen is now out. Last successful lift, 525 pounds for him. 15 men remain.
Solid performance there by Noah. He really fought for the last 2 bars that he was successful at hitting. He's got to be very pleased with that.
Now we're starting to see more men struggle a little bit here. Lazar Jukic had a good fight at 535, able to hitch that up.
That's right. He had a heck of a hitch there. He timed it just right. I can tell that he's worked with some heavy loads in the form of this lift. He understands where his limitation is and knows how to correct it. Ricky was in the same boat. Notice that as he starts to stand, his hips start to rise without the bar. That's the first cue that the weight's getting heavy. As their butt comes up first, then the bar sweeps back, and then, of course, we see his hitch at the top, and this is where it almost cost him. Too far back in his heels. Luckily, he got the lockout signal there from the judge that he could put the bar down. And then we got Mr. Roman Krennikov. Clean execution through the knees, a slight hitch at the top as the bar stops. Now, Roman has a unique build. And I say that because he's got a longer torso. And athletes with a longer torso, well, they tend to have a great advantage when it comes to squatting movements because their torso stays upright. When it comes to hinging and standing from the bottom, Roman tends to feel the brunt of this load as the bar passes his knees versus when it's on the floor. So that's where he has that hitch, and that's what he's got to continue to overcome as the weights get heavier.
Now the weight goes up to 545 pounds. Noah Olson and Brent Fikowski. Their night is done. They are 2 men in the top 5 in the overall standings right now. It's an opportunity for a lot of guys to move into contention for a spot on the podium as we head into the final day of competition on Sunday. Clark, Magda, and Pepper up first here at 5:45. Scooter Magda looking good. Dallin Pepper will hit it. And Garrett Clark successful at 5:45.
That was a good lift for all those young men there. Tudor made that 5:45 look just like 4:55 did. So this is a good sign for him. He's looking very crisp, very sharp, still great speed on the bar and also great posture.
Bailey Martin, Lazar Jukic, and Jason Hopper up next. We'll keep an eye on Lazar Jukic because he really had to fight that 535-pound barbell.
So watch Hopper off the floor here. Yeah, he gets it going, he'll be good.
Hopper's good.
Lazar on the other hand, he's got to get that scoop. Hips forward.
Jukic's not able to get there.
Bailey Martin's going to have the same deal. He's going to get it up. But then can he finish? Hips forward.
Martin's fighting it. He's fighting it. And he will get it.
Wow. Wow.
That's almost as long as that Dave Castro rep.
We're going to have to bring this up. Great lift there by Bailey, honestly. Hats off to him. That's a tremendous fight. Many athletes, including myself, man, I'd have dropped that barbell after about 15 seconds of time and attention. I'm not going to lie. Great lift there. An amazing lift by Yellow Hosta, who seems to be feeding off of some great momentum. I think from 5:25 on, he was very pleased to be making a successful lift. So 5:45 was great for him.
Now Ricky Garrard is unable to get through. His night is done.
That'll be it for Ricky. I know that he was really looking forward to showing his stuff with the deadlift. It's something he's working on. He'll continue to rebuild that movement.
Roman Krennikov, Jake Crouch, and Chandler Smith. It's the first time that Smith looked like he put out any effort.
Yep.
Down to 12 men. Now Adler and Vellner will close things out here at 5:45.
Now this weight off the floor, Sean, has looked a little heavier than I expected for Jeff. He's strong historically. Deadlift not his strongest lift, but it takes him a second to get it moving.
Vellner good for Adler. 12 men remain. 10 more pounds going on the barbell. We're up to 555. 252 kilos. So Lazar Jukic was the first man to bow out at this weight.
Yeah, and you can tell there again, the clear sign is slight rounding of the spine. The hips go first, and then he tried to re-dip under the load there to try to extend his hips. He's a little too far behind the bar. You got to keep your shoulders on top of the bar for another half a second, Lazar, and I bet you'll make that lift.
And this so far was the battle of the night. Bailey Martin versus 545 pounds.
Notice that position that he's in. His shoulders are still on top of the bar, and then he pivots. He tries to get the bar back, keeps tilting his hips back to pull his shoulders back on top, and then he can inch it up to that lockout position. What a fight.
12 men left. We are on to our 8th barbell. 555 pounds. There's Roman Krennikov. Krennikov in 6th place overall, and a couple of the men ahead of him have been eliminated. Noah Olson, who sits in 5th. Adler's still alive. Gudmundsson and Fikowski, they're both out as well. So Roman Krennikov has an opportunity to put himself back inside the top 3.
That last lift was a bit of a test from Roman, so we're going to have to see how he adjusts his positioning and execution in order to stay alive here against a field that seems to have several of the men very confident in both their position and their speed off the floor as we approach 5:55 here.
We're set for the first 3 athletes at 5:55. Garrett Clark, Tudor Magda, Dallin Pepper. Tudor Magda still looking strong. Now Dallin Pepper and Garrett Clark at the same time. Clark is good. Pepper's trying to fight through this, and he's not going to get it. Now we are down to 11.
Dallin did a great job of getting that bar off the ground and creating a fight. Probably has less experience with trying to find that position to properly hitch back in order to save a lift as it starts to slow down to a halt past his knee. That's certainly a skill that has to be practiced in order to confidently do.
Jason Hopper will hit 5:55. We'll see if Bailey Martin has anything left in the tank. Roman Krennikov decided to get out there and lift. That was not his designated time. And Bailey Martin is not even going to give this thing a whirl.
Yeah, Sean, after a fight that he put up to the bar last time, it's a great choice by him. Way to think ahead.
Yellow Hosta and Travis Mayer up next.
Travis still going to pull this bar up like it's nothing.
That is good with Mayer. Hosta is going to be eliminated now. 5:45, the best lift for him. So the tiebreak times are coming into play here on this barbell. Down to 10 athletes. So this will be the final time we're using all 4 platforms. Jay Crouch and Chandler Smith will be up next. Krennikov was supposed to go with these 2, but he's already lifted. Chandler Smith is good at 5:55. Jay Crouch is good at 5:55.
Impressive for Jay Crouch.
Adler and Vellner will be the last 2 men at the 555-pound barbell.
I don't have a listed 100 max for Jay, but he's one of the smaller athletes in the field. It's impressive to see the way he's moving this heavy weight.
Here comes Jeff Adler along with Pat Vellner at 5:55. Adler 4th place overall coming into this event. And he is done. So now Vellner really has an opportunity to put a stranglehold on the top spot in the overall standings.
Yeah, and Pat looks sure and Pat looks strong there. No hesitation. Lift continues to look smooth. Roman's joking with him. Why'd it look so easy? Mine doesn't look like that. Here's Roman at 5:55. Slight round to his upper back. That's how he starts to lift. It is on purpose, folks. And then as he extends his legs, he slides that bar up his thighs and pulls his shoulders back to make sure that lift counts. Stares at his judge until he gets the down signal. He was pretty pumped about the 5:55. Vellner, on the other hand, a little bit of a second to get that bar moving, but once it does, it's a straight path all the way through to finish. And then Jeff Adler here. We noticed the bar was coming off the floor a little bit slower on his last 2 attempts, and he just kind of knows when the day is done for him there. It's a vet move. He's going to save some energy so he can advance forward. Of course, everyone's going to want to get the points that are available to them, but it's one of those choices where do you fight for a sloppy repetition that might cost you some back soreness, an an extra fatigue for the next day, or do you pack it in for the day and call it good with a 545, and that's what he chose to do.
Clark, Magda, Hopper, Mayer, Crouch, Smith, Krenikoff, and Vellner all still alive. And Roman Krenikoff is the closest man to Vellner in the overall standings who is still lifting. And Krenikoff is 85 points back. And now we move to 2 platforms. Smith, Clark, and Vellner all have the 3 heaviest listed PRs of the athletes still lifting here. No shock because we've seen Vellner do well in the CrossFit Total back in 2018 at the Games. Chandler Smith listed at 635, and Clark's listed as 600. And when Chandler Smith exploded onto the scene back in 2016, it was during the regional competition where he was just repping out 405 pounds in a deadlift and made it look like nothing.
Made it look like nothing. Run, GHD sit-ups, and deadlifts. I will agree with Chandler, as I have never seen a workout that looked more appetizing personally. But boy, he made that 405-pound barbell look ridiculous.
Garrett Clark and Tudor Magda up first at 565 pounds.
It's the only event that I ever won at a regional.
There you go.
I like a deadlift too. I know how to identify a good deadlifter. We got these long arms and long legs, man. Short torso.
Magda is through 565. Garrett Clark once again taking his time. And he is through.
And one thing that you'll notice, and we'll see this in different setups for different athletes, but you'll watch Garrett set his hands on the bar, rock his butt high in the air, and then load his knees down toward the bar to begin his lift. And what he's doing is priming and engaging his posterior. It feels a slight stretch in the hamstrings. And as he creates that stretch, it allows his body to literally load up for the lift and spring from the ground with more power and speed.
8 men left, Jason Hopper and Travis Mayer now going after 565, and they are both through.
Both looking good. Jason Hopper, I gotta say, has looked better the last 2 bars than he did the previous 2 bars. I don't know if he's bringing more focus to the lift now that it's heavier, but it looks a little cleaner off the floor, a little bit more controlled.
There's Chandler Smith. He's 11th place overall, but a lot of the men ahead of him in the overall standings have already bowed out of the competition. He finished on the podium here last year, took 2nd place at the Rogue Invitational in 2022. This is the 9th lift here, and Chandler Smith makes 565 look easy. Jay Crouch, his lift is good as well. Krenikoff and Vellner will be the last 2 men to go.
This is going to be a big test here for Roman.
3, 2, 1,
He's got to stay tight as he moves that bar off the floor, especially as it passes his knees. The more rigid he can remain, the more success he'll have to get through that hitch at the top.
Vellner good at 565. Krenikoff will get it. All 8 men get through the 565-pound barbell. And now we move to 575. This will be the 10th barbell that they have attempted. It took 18 for the women's competition.
The women were just warming up at this point.
Here's Jay Crouch at 565.
A little hesitation off the ground there for Jay, but was able to recoup good position and finish the lift strong. Again, very impressive, him being one of the lighter and smaller athletes in the field. 565, nothing overlooked. Pat Vellner looking very consistent. One of his slower lifts, but again, form-wise, repetitive from the time that we started lifting 455. And then Roman here. was able to sustain a bit of a better posture actually on 565 than he was at 555. Still took the hitch at the top, but he was able to stand it up all the way through.
Eight men still left in this competition. 575 pounds on the barbell, as it's 10-pound jumps from here on out. Crew getting things reset, and said it earlier, but the equipment crew, the volunteers here at the Rogue Invitational have done a phenomenal job, not only just keeping things on schedule, but also dealing with all the curveballs that have been thrown at them throughout this weekend. Moving equipment around, making sure the events are on time. We thank them for their efforts, and thank all the volunteers at all the competitions that take place, because without them, these things do not happen.
They don't exist. They never make it through. There's no doubt about it. And teamwork makes the dream work. It's amazing the willingness and the volume of people that are willing to come be a part of this simply to serve and to help it take place the way it does. I mean, we watch people set the stage for an entire event, then have to cover the equipment or take it off just to pivot around the weather, like you mentioned, Sean. And it's been greatly impressive, especially at the high level that we see it being done here at any Rogue event.
When we get down to 5 men, we will move to that barbell that is resting on home plate here at Dell Diamond Stadium. There is Garrett Clark, who has already guaranteed himself his best finish of this competition, as the worst he can do is 8th place. 575 on the bar. It's Clark and Magda up first.
3, 2, 1, lift. All right, here we go.
Tudor's still one of the better performing athletes up to this point on the deadlift. Wow.
It doesn't look like Clark is going to make an attempt.
Interesting choice there. I mean, we saw him lift 565 successfully. It looked good. Maybe he felt something in his back or just knows that this is one of the tipping points for him and wants to continue to make sure that he can perform through tomorrow.
Right now looking like he's going to finish in 8th place unless anyone else is eliminated by this barbell, and that would be his best finish of the competition.
Let's watch Travis pull this bar up with speed and power off the floor. Hopper's going to try to do the same.
575 for Travis Mayer is good, and Jason Hopper will hit it.
Great job there. Great fight by both men. I could tell that actually making that lift surprised Jason Hopper. He gave the crowd a big whoa, and it showed. He I don't know if he expected it to come all the way off the floor with the way it hesitated.
Travis Mayer having a little fun with his form, imitating what he thinks he just did, but doesn't matter. It's going to count.
Yep.
Here comes Chandler Smith. He will be lifting with Jake Crouch at 575.
Chandler's got to find this balance of control and power off the floor.
575 is good for Chandler Smith. 575 for Jake Crouch. And he will make it.
Signals to his boys in the back. Yo, that's it for me right there. I'm pumped about that.
Roman Krenikoff and Pat Vellner will be up next.
How's that go if you're at the gym? You signal that to your lifting partner, and they're like, nah, come on, man, you got one more.
575 for Pat Vellner will count. Roman not able to hitch it up.
Gosh, great effort by Roman there. Great performance there. Still there by him. But you know, it's one of those things. We're nitpicking and we're getting down to the details. If Roman can keep his shoulders on top of that bar, which means him hinged forward just a touch longer, a half inch perhaps, so it's a little higher on his thighs when he starts to lean back, I think he makes that lift. Here's Hopper. Fighting, wait. Okay, there we go, I got it now. And that's very normal. We see the body take time to recruit the necessary musculature in the form of a deadlift to get the load all the way up top. This is why we deem that speed is important at a point of performance, because the sooner your body identifies what is necessary to make the lift happen, the less fatigue that builds as you can stand through the weight. Then we got Jay Crouch again, one of the smaller athletes in the field at 575, putting up a fight through the hitch, all the way through the thighs. Great execution. And then here's Roman at 575. Watch how smooth the bar comes off the ground. But here, stay on top of the bar, Roman, just for another split second. Then lean back to pull those shoulders back, and I think that he'll have an opportunity to perhaps bring his hips forward and his shoulders back to make the lift.
Now we move up to 585 pounds, and we're going to go ahead and make the jump, it looks like, to center stage. Surprised that barbell is still there. I think somewhere Chase Ingram is lurking, waiting to get his hands on that thing and take it back home.
You know he is. It's red, white, and blue, isn't it?
And it's got the Texas flag, so.
I got that too.
That checks 2 boxes for our good friend Chase. So we're still going to lift on the 2 platforms. They're just keeping up with the weight there on the home plate platform. I thought maybe since we had 6, we'd just go ahead, but we're not to 5 yet. One man needs to be eliminated before we get to that single platform. As Tudor Magda will lift by himself as Garrett Clark is no longer in this event.
Tudor looking to smooth up into this point here. A little bit of shape shifting there happening in his back on 585, but when it comes to weight, he still moved that very smoothly all the way to the top. Coming back around to Travis and Jason Hopper. Travis Mayer and Jason Hopper here. Travis fast off the ground with his double overhand hook grip, but then gets a little bit sticky as the bar passes his knees. His body started to tremble and shake a little bit. You see this when you're kind of toward the top end of fatigue in a deadlift, and your body's just kind of fighting its way to the top.
585 for Hopper. Can't get it to go, and Mayer will not get it to go. And Mayer was the closest man in the overall standings to Pat Vellner, 7th place overall, and he trails Vellner by 100 points.
Pat just completely frothed at the way that these athletes are dropping like flies right now.
Down to 4 men. Chandler Smith is one of them. Jay Crouch is now going to bow out. Smith at 585. No problem. Wow.
He's laughing about it, saying something to Pat. I hope it's something like, I could do this all night.
Solo lifter in the final straight going to be Patrick Vellner.
Vellner, the last man to go at 585.
3, 2, 1.
$585 for our current overall leader. That is good for Pat Vellner. We will move to center stage as we jump up to 595 pounds. It's Vellner, Magda, and Smith.
Showdown begins. All right, up into this point, what I see, Chandler Smith's got some great potential, but we check in here, Jason Hopper on the replay. That last lift took a while to get off the ground, and that one just wasn't budging for him. Just no more juice left for tonight. Great effort there by Jason Hopper. And then Chandler Smith, still a little pause at the bottom, but once that bar starts creeping up, there's no denying that he's standing up with that thing. And then Pat Vellner, same idea. He takes a slack out of the bar, there's a little bend there, and then he's undefeated as the bar passes his shin. He has no problem at the lockout part.
Now we move to the main barbell. One lifter at a time, and there it is. Painted like the Texas flag, and it will be loaded with some Texas weight, 595 pounds. That's 270 kilos. And Tudor Magda should be the first man up. In the bigger picture, the worst that Pat Vellner can do now is third place. That would add 90 points to his total. And he's going to have a monstrous lead heading into the final day of competition here.
Which, looking back, hey, that's a great place for Pat to be. It's not something we see often, though, with him with such a great cushion. So it'll be a new place if he's able to finish strong here tonight and take that momentum into tomorrow. We know that Pat does know how to win here, though.
He is the only former champion in the field. He won this competition in 2020. Take a look at Chandler Smith, a guy who was on the podium last year. Vellner has always done well at the Rogue Invitational. This is his 5th appearance here. He's never been lower than 4th. He's been 2nd twice, and he won in 2020.
I just got to say, Sean, Chandler Smith with that belt on with his shirt and pants, he just looks like a man that I saw walking around the Global Gym growing up where I was going to play pickup basketball, and he just always had his weightlifting belt on, lifting heavy weights.
Tudor Magda trying to get the crowd fired up as he steps up to 595 pounds. And Magda will get it. The 20-year-old out of Iowa got some farm strength right there.
Yeah, what a great lift. Very impressive. He's someone, again, that I touched base with. He said his last PR was 525. That was 3 years ago. He hadn't really maxed a 1 rep in quite a while. So, and we could have seen him knock down like 10 PRs today.
Here comes Chandler Smith. And that is good for Chandler. Pat Vellner will be up next at 595. I mean, if you're looking for a Halloween costume, that one is going to be pretty easy to put together. Just get yourself a nice white polo shirt, a hat, and a weightlifting belt, a pair of sweats. You could be Chandler Smith for Halloween. Of course, you might need to put on about 40 or 50 pounds of muscle to make it believable, but...
Yep. Oh, that's going to be great.
The Valencia soccer jersey from the Spanish League is Chandler Smith. Now Vellner is good. All 3 men stay alive, and we will move up to 605 pounds.
We had some discussions earlier among some of our peers. How many men are going to deadlift over 600 pounds?
2, 1.
3 was a pretty solid number. We'll see who
13th
advances.
barbell that's coming up.
Right, you heard the man.
Magda
Josh
Smith.
G put it out there. Time to add that weight, 595.
Talking things over. Here's one more look at Magda's effort.
Great lift there by Tudor. Again, we've got a little bit of rounding in the back, but he was very, very excited to stand it all the way through the top. Chandler Smith made slight work of this. It took a second to get off the floor, but again, then at the top, just one slight hitch. And Pat Vellner, I gotta say, once that bar gets moving for him, there's no stopping it. There's no pausing. There's no hitching. He just stands it up.
Had to get confirmation from his judge, but yes, that was a good rep.
I could be wrong, Sean, but it looked like Tudor was communicating to the athletes he might not be taking the next attempt, or no, never mind. He's getting his mind right now. I can tell. He's getting ready.
Well, that last lift certainly took a pretty huge effort from Tudor Magda. As we now add 10 pounds, we move up to 605 pounds. This is now the 13th barbell that these men will lift.
All right, this is one of those numbers. It looks real good over 600, fellas. Got to go get it.
Peter Magda trying to get himself fired up. The crowd is on its feet. 605 on the barbell. We are way past his listed deadlift PR. Not able to get it. Not a surprise given how hard he worked on that last lift.
A lot of lifts, a lot of heavy lifts, 120 snatches, and several sandbag cleans into that teeter earlier. These men know exactly where their posterior chain is, let me tell you, because they're feeling it there.
That's going to be his best finish of the competition. Can't do worse than 3rd place. Magda 18th place overall, so he will move up the overall standing. We will see if it is indeed Chandler time at 6:05. Wasting no time, and it is indeed Chandler time. 6:05 is good for Chandler Smith. Here comes Pat Vellner. For the 2nd straight year, it's Chandler Smith, one of the last 2 men in the max lift event. Last year it was Krenikoff and Smith in the log press. This year it's Smith and Vellner. Vellner's got to get through this. If he doesn't, Chandler Smith's going to win the event.
Pull through it.
So 5 for Vellner. Not going to make it, and that means that Chandler Smith is going to win the event.
He was so close there, Sean. It really looked like his grip blew up. Hand damage, taped up hands. I think he fell a little short of the count and just couldn't hold on to the weight.
Well, Chandler Smith asking the crowd if they want one more. And I think he's going to do it.
Yeah, oh yeah. Hey, throw it in there.
Why not?
Let's go 15. 6:15. You want 6:15? I guess I said 10. Let's go 6:10.
I think he's asking for 6:10.
A minute and a half.
Needs 90 seconds. No big deal.
Just 6:10.
6:10. Just going to
I didn't get to get
casually lift after the 15th barbell.
You were making them all look so easy. I thought you still had like 20 more pounds in you.
That's what I said. It's like it's good until it's not. When I got like halfway, my fingers were like ripping, and I was like, yeah. I was like, can't
You can hear Pat saying it just wasn't worth it. I mean, he's going to have a monstrous lead heading into the final day. So at this point, for Pat Vellner, 5 extra points aren't going to make a gigantic difference. Now Chandler Smith is going to try to put on a show here, go after 610 pounds.
I'm not in the clock.
Little shot back here at 6:05. Again, attacks it with aggressiveness like we've seen him do rep after rep after rep. Slight hesitation off the ground, a couple hitches at the top. The bar still moved so fast, Sean. He's got more in the tank for sure.
And this was Vellner. It looked like he was going to make it. He got it past that sticking point, just unable to stand it up, and you see him, he immediately looks at his fingers. And still have 3 events to go tomorrow. He has already won, has Chandler Smith.
30 seconds.
And everybody came here to see big weights go up, and now there's 610 pounds on that barbell.
That's right. Put on a show for him, Chandler. That's what they came here for. That's what they came here for. Team player. It's special. Rogue brings that kind of energy every time.
And as we mentioned at the top here, this crowd, this environment, can add some weight to your PR. Here comes Chandler Smith for 610.
Got it.
And sending the crowd home happy is Chandler Smith. 610, an event win, and it is indeed Chandler time.
Gotta love it. What excitement, what an event. What a team player, Chandler. Putting on a show for the fans. You gotta love it.
First event win here at the Rogue Invitational in this year. He's got 4 now total in his career.
take a nap.
What a way to end the night. Chandler Smith gripping and ripping 610 pounds.
Oh, PE teacher. That's great.
Thank you. Cool.
He'll pick up 100 points. He had 275 coming in. And there's a good chance he moves into the top 10.
Oh yeah, another look back at the 610 for the icing on the cake. Stood it up just like he did 605. A little bit more of a fight above the knee, but he showed us what time it was, and it's Chandler time.
And the crowd loves it. Chandler Smith didn't need to do it, but sending people home with a smile as he hits 610 pounds, and he is with Kiki Dixon.
Look at your camera.
Chandler, you didn't have to do that extra rep, but you did. Why?
I've never really got the chance to max out on a deadlift environment like this, and I know that considering that I'm